yes, it's coming in 3, 2, 1. On the air with FDT-TV, the premier West Ham and Arsenal football podcast, brought to you every Monday by Michael Hawes and Ian Varker. Hello once again and welcome to the FDT-TV podcast. My name is Ian.
I'm Mike. And
we are here for episode 33 of this season. It's getting on a bit now. So, Mike, you've recovered from your illness from last week.
Still suffering a little bit, but definitely a hell of a lot better than what I was. You'll probably hear it towards the end of this podcast. I'll slip into my Barry White again, and
you sound much healthier than that.
Yeah.
And has the fact that England are on the winning trail again helped your recovery, or has it not really affected it at all?
Yeah. It's been great. Yeah, I love the pointless international break.
Well, I was going to say, how much you love the international break, but I think the international break is the perfect way to. It's really everything that's happened in football. It's a perfect way to do it. Switzerland 1, England 2. Bit of a janky victory, but a few debuts who I think did quite well. But what's your take on that game?
A bit of a janky, I think, is the perfect word for it. I would say personally it was a piss poor performance, and I think we got lucky. I think I nearly said Poland there. Switzerland, I think they deserve to be about three, possibly 4 up throughout the course of the game. I think we were very lucky. It was. I wouldn't even say it was a good test. I think it was a bit of a reality check for us, because Switzerland are no mugs. They've done all right over the last couple of years or so, and I think possibly that we underestimated them a little bit. There's some good players, obviously, that play for Switzerland. Granit Xhaka, the boy, being one of them. But I just thought it was just a nothing game for me, and I don't understand. I mean, appreciate obviously there are and stuff, so it is a scheduled break, but with the number of fixtures and games that we've had to postpone and all that sort of stuff, it just seems like a pointless exercise that we fit in international games when we could be getting those games that are getting
everyone back on the level playing field.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pointless exercise for me.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Harry Kane with another goal.
Penalty though, wasn't it?
Yes. And I actually believe he's now equal with Sir Bobby George. He's overtaken Gary Lineker.
Wasn't Bobby George a dance player?
Yes. Who am I thinking of?
Bobby Charlton?
Bobby Charlton, thank you. Yes. Fucking hell.
I know he was good at his sport, but I didn't realise he transferred over.
Oh yeah, did you not see him, mate? He was quality in
all the gold.
Yeah, Bobby George.
Well, weighted down, he was really fast when he took it off. I mean, I watched up until they funded the crossbar in the first half, and then it went out and did some bits. But what I did notice is that Embolio, the striker, scored a good first goal. I think really you have to put it down to Pickford being poor. But he did like to hit the deck at any sign of contact or being near a player, which was a bit of a shame. But yeah, I think they controlled it for the most part from what I see. Now, the interesting thing is Aaron Ramsdale, obviously injured. Do you think Gareth Southgate will now be seriously thinking, actually, Jordan Pickford's not done terribly for England over the last little while, but he's becoming, especially in the last game, was a liability for England. And actually, Ramsdale will be the number 1 going into the World Cup.
Potentially. It's a bit of a shame he has picked up his injury. I mean, the last game against Aston Villa, we were... I've got to admit, with Leno coming back in, as harsh as this sounds, because I think the last time he played was back in August. In terms of the Premier League, I know he's played a couple of cup games, but the last time we saw him in an Arsenal shirt, he was questionable with his confidence. His confidence was absolutely shot to pieces, I think, is a fair analysis to say. So when he come in against Aston Villa, I've got to be honest, I thought that we were going to be conceding goals left, right and centre. However, managed to keep a clean sheet. It was good for his confidence. But I think there's the reason why I'm going on about Leno, with how Aaron Ramsdale, when he first come into the Arsenal team, people were just like, what is going on here? This is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. No one likes him, blah, 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 blah. But he grabbed the ball by the horns in that particular example, and he's made that position his own. Now, the only reason that he's obviously not in the or wasn't in the last Arsenal squad was because of the injury. The only reason that I think he hasn't been played in the England game because of his injury. I do think that he will be possibly the number one keeper going into the World Cup, just on performances in the league this season alone. Obviously, Everton are having a bit of a torrid time at the moment. Keep conceding goals. That can't be good for a goalkeeper's confidence in general. Ramsdale has got one of the highest number of clean sheets in the league this season. Not the highest, but he's definitely up there. So yeah, it would be silly not to see him in there. And I think had he not been injured, he would definitely be playing tomorrow. At the very least.
Yeah, and here's the thing: Southgate has said he's picking people on performances, which is not a lie, but it's not completely the truth, is it? He is also talking about performances for England, and obviously Pickford's done well. Another one, Harry Maguire's done well. Personally, I don't think Harry Maguire should be in the squad at all. Doesn't deserve to be anywhere near it. Okay, you could say he's having a torrid time, but you have to argue this season he's been Manchester United's worst player all season. We're now sort of coming to the running, and his form hasn't picked up. It's not like he's had a 5 or 6 game run where he's been a bit torrid, had a bit of a torrid time. He's just been poor. So yes, he has put in some good performances for England, but in the same breath, there are a lot of English defenders that are doing well. So I mean, we see Tyrick Mitchell come on, we see Gay play the match, and there was another one as well, wasn't there? Ben White. I think that was his England debut as well, wasn't it?
Yep.
So I mean, there are players there, and Ben White I think did well, and I think Gay did well, and so did Tyrick Mitchell when he come on. It's an interesting one because if it wasn't a friendly, I don't think they would have got anywhere near the squad. But you have to look at players like them for starting for England regularly. Jared Bowen, I think, is another one who's unfortunately picked up an injury, because I think that would be the real tell whether Southgate's picking on form, because he's on fire this season. Yeah, he's missed out on every England squad, and this one through injury. But yeah, so what's your take on some of the selections from him?
Well, we've discussed this before in terms of his selection process. Now we've said it before in terms of the whole picking on form thing, and it's something that we've questioned numerous times. Where I think what I'm trying to get is because of his justification this time, where he's picking players not necessarily on their club form, so England form, I think that kind of gives him a buy, so to speak, because as you mentioned, Harry Maguire has had a pretty shit season in terms of his club form, but in the last few England games hasn't really put a foot wrong. So you can kind of forgive him a bit for that, but I think you do have to kind of applaud him with some of the lesser names. Obviously, Ben White, I think, is a good example of this, where was at Brighton last year, didn't really pull up all the trees or whatever, but this season he's come into a youthful Arsenal squad and has hit the ground running. So I do think that's a good way to do it. And I think it does evidence that he is picking on form. But just to touch on what you just said about if it was a competitive game such as a knockout, you're right. I think he would go with kind of some of the old ones as to the old guard, if you like, in terms of England players. And so I suppose we'll never know, really, will we, in terms of what the selection process would be if it was a competitive fixture. Would some of these players been given the opportunity? And I think tomorrow's going to be another good test as to who makes the starting 11, because I mean Gareth Southgate's already come out today and said I think that Harry Kane is less likely to be playing tomorrow.
Yep.
Obviously because we've got another game in close succession from the one we've had just the other day, put in a good shift, scored a goal, and there's no real need for him to be used and abused, if you like. So I think it's going to be another opportunity to see some of the young blood coming through, and test the water a little bit and give some of the more experienced England players a bit of a rest.
Yeah, that makes sense. Speaking of tomorrow's fixture, there is quite a significant player that plays for the Ivory Coast who once played for England. Wilfried Zaha shares the same birthday as me, so I do have a bit of an affiliation with him. Same day, same year, everything. So there you go. You can work out how old I am.
Your brother from another mother.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say he's the least skilled of the two footballers out of the two of us, but I just chose to put my efforts in elsewhere.
Absolutely.
In all seriousness, has had a bit of an odd career, hasn't he? Went to the mighty Man United and sort of fell foul of that. He hit them at the beginning of their downfall. Gone back to Crystal Palace and single-handedly run that team for now a number of seasons. Tried to get a move away, never quite materialised. Now he's sort of come into the latter parts of his career with still a point to prove, I feel. Has the ability on his day to beat anybody and to be the best player on the pitch against anybody. Do you think he could come back to haunt England at Wembley?
I think it would depend on what squad he puts out. I think we've got a bit of an advantage knowing his skills, his traits. So I know there are some things that you can't kind of account for, i.e. pace and whatever trickery is done on the day. But you would like to think with the players that he's going to be coming up against, it would be kind of bread and butter for him. For them. To understand what he's going to do. But you're right, it depends on what Wilf Zaha turns up. It could be one that is ripping up the Premier League, scoring goals, all the trickery, all the pace, or it could be one of the ones where he's kind of had lulls in his career, gets the ump about everything if someone doesn't pass him the ball, wayward shots into Rose Ed, that sort of thing. So there is every likelihood he could. But you'd like to think we're a bit clued up as to his strengths and his weaknesses, to kind of nullify it. So,
and in some respects, it's helpful that we've got a number of Crystal Palace defenders in the team, because obviously they're used to playing with him day in, day out, and know all his movements, his feints, everything. But also with Mr. White in the starting lineup, you'd have to say almost a dry run for Monday's fixture.
Absolutely.
So hopefully he gets battered today or tomorrow and does all right against him on Monday, I think. Or maybe the other way round.
That's what I was just
but both of them, take your pick, make it fit. But yeah, so what would, if you had to, I mean, I don't know if you want to do a prediction for it, at a bonus point or something, or the bonus 3 points. So what would your prediction be for this next game then?
I'm going to go 1-1.
Ooh.
Yeah, nice and simple. I'm going to go... The reason for that is just from listening to the interviews that were going on earlier, in terms of squad rotation, that sort of business. And it's a nothing fixture. So even if we get beaten or whatever, it means absolutely nothing. It's not as if I mean I've noticed the other day that they started doing the what was that stupid prelim to the Euros that had a trophy at the end of it and all that sort of. See, they're doing them again, so even that's competitive. But this is one of these dead rubber, nothing to play for in it, just to give the guys 90 minutes. So yeah, I've got to go 1-1.
I'm going to go 4-2 to England.
Okay.
I just, as you said, because it's a nothing fixture, generally get some high scores because no one's really too worried about it. But I don't really know who else is in the squad other than Maguire, where I got to that point and went, there's no point. Like he was like the second name on the list. So yeah, 4-2 for me. And speaking of, I don't know where I did have an ad lib and a segue in there, but let's carry on with predictions. Why not? So obviously we missed. We'll say we didn't miss anything because it was 2-1 Switzerland to England. But we did make some predictions for the Premier League fixtures the week before that.
Yes.
So I can't really remember what they were, but can you give us a bit of a recap?
Yeah, absolutely. So this was a couple of fixtures for we had. Aston Villa versus Arsenal and Tottenham versus West Ham.
Oh yes.
Going back to the
Liverpool
game.
That's why I blocked it out of my memory. Yeah.
To be honest, mate, that's one of the reasons why I did. So we had Arsenal versus Liverpool. You predicted 2-0 to Liverpool. I predicted 3-1 to Liverpool. The score was 2-0, so 3 points to you, 1 for me for the correct score.
I totally forgot about that game as well.
Correct result. You had the correct score, so that's 3 points. Just to touch on that game very quickly, I just wanted to throw out something because once again the Arteta out brigade were out in full force on Twitter, and honest to God, man, just listening or just reading some of the people that post comments on that, they should not be allowed out in society, should not be allowed a phone. I think for anyone that had any dreams of grandeur and beating a very, very informed Liverpool side, they're deluded. It would have been a great test for us even to come away with a point. Just looking at where we come from the start of the season when we were getting battered left, right and centre. Obviously, we've cleared a load of deadwood out. We've got one of the youngest, if not the youngest squad in the Premier League at the moment. And from what Arteta has done at the moment, I think is incredible.
Yeah,
we're in the middle of a rebuilding journey, and like I said, for us to get anything from Liverpool was going to be a challenge. I think we did really well in the first half. We had a couple of moments in lapse in concentration, and Liverpool punished us for it. I mean, we were so well drilled in the first half, but there was no way we were going to be able to keep that up for 90 minutes against, like I said, a very informed Liverpool team. So, yeah, those people should be put on an island with no reception, take away their phones, and then shot. But yeah, so 3 points to you for that one, 1 point for me.
I've got to say, Mike, it's very unlike you to sit on the fence. It's
yeah, sorry, rant. Next game, Aston Villa versus Arsenal. Again, it was a game that I was a little bit worried because Aston Villa, they've had a good run of form in the league, especially under Steven Gerrard. But we come away 1-0 winners for that. You had a prediction of 1-1. I had 2-1 to Arsenal. As I mentioned, it was 1-0. Very hard-fought game. Lucky goal from Bukayo Saka. I say it's a lucky goal. I think it was a good strike, but I think the fact that there were players in front of Martinez kind of obscuring his view, it kind of did us a favour. But like I said, Bernardo come in for that particular game, had a good game, pulled off some good saves. Well done to him. So it's a point from me and 0 points for you. Mm-hmm. And then Tottenham versus West Ham. Obviously, after your heroics in the Europa League, beating Seville 2-0, as you mentioned in last week's podcast without me.
Yep.
What a result that was for you, firstly. Going on to, is it the quarterfinals now in the Europa League?
Yep.
It was going to be very difficult to go to Spurs and try and get anything out of that game. Obviously, I thought it was going to be the reverse. So you were going to lose to Seville and then go to Tottenham and beat them, but unfortunately they did have too much for you. So I'll pass over to you and give us a quick rundown of that.
It was one. I mean, speaking to a number of Tottenham fans, they were celebrating it like they'd won the World Cup. I mean, we'd played a midweek fixture. We'd played 120 minutes. We had a tired, rotated squad with a number of key injuries still. And we were competitive for some of it, but then very quickly you see how tired the squad was, and it's like it wasn't really a competitive match. And you have to give it to them. They did have some good play, but they've got a bigger squad than us. They played less games than us. They were below us in the league, and actually, at that point, all our energy needs to go into the Europa League. So it was a bit of a nothing fixture for us. I mean, it's always nice to beat them, but there wasn't anything on the line. So, yeah, they did win. I can't remember what the score was, and I can't remember what I predicted. So,
okay, so you had a 2-0 win. I had 2-1 to West Ham on this particular fixture. You did have Spurs down as a win. It was actually 3-1 in the end, so it's a point to you, 0 points to me. So the points for that week is 4 points to you, 2 to me. So in terms of the season totals, sorry, that's Sky News notification.
That was quite a good timing, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, so the points for the season, Ian, you are now on 38 points. I'm on 34.
Okay.
No, that's a lie. That's a complete lie. Because I didn't have the points on. You're on 42.
Ooh.
Because we still had the West Ham game to go.
Yes.
Which is why I didn't have the points. Right, so it's 42 to you, 35 for me.
I've avoided relegation.
Yes, absolutely. You've hit that valuable 40-point mark. So 7 points ahead, mate.
Yep.
We are coming into the closing of the league. So,
but with nine points to play for this week, it's not over.
Nope.
So I think we'll start with the England game. Obviously, we play the Ivory Coast. We're at home. What do you think? Oh, well, we've done that. I mean, sorry. Yeah. sorry. I'm just reading through my list. And I was
1-1.
Yeah, okay. I said 4-2, didn't I? As I said it, as it came out of my mouth, my brain went, you fucking idiot. But, so, okay. Next fixtures, Premier League fixtures, the ones that really matter. West Ham host Everton.
That's it.
Dele Alli, £40 million signing, already been axed from the Everton squad because he's shit. I think everyone could have told you that before they bought him. I'm going 3-0 to West Ham. I know we don't generally play well after an international break, but Everton are poor. And this is the sort of game usually you go, we'll win this easy, and we lose. But for that reason, I'm going to say we're going to buck the trend with this, and we're going to win 3-0.
Okay. I'm on the same lines as you. I know they had a pretty good result against Newcastle a couple of weeks ago. It was a bit of a strange game with player being sent off and then managed to get the last gasp winner, sending the fans into an absolute frenzy. So it was good for them, but they lost their subsequent game after that. So, yeah, it's we've mentioned about Frank Lampard and Everton over the last couple of weeks. Will they get relegated? It does pay me to say it, that it is looking more and more likely that they could be one of the teams that gets the axe this season. So, yeah, I'm going to go for 2-1 to West Ham on this one.
I have been reading a lot of stuff about Everton. When you read everything about it, everyone's singing Lampard's praises. I know he's the current manager, but saying obviously he's trying to lift spirits and do this and train and be attacking. And all the blame is being put on Agent Benitez, as the Liverpool fans call him, because of how negative it was. It wasn't just the tactics, it was everything around the training ground, the day-to-day. Everything was negative, everything was bad, everything was glass half full, or glass half empty, I should say. So it's not just the tactics that he's trying to change. He's trying to change everything within the club to put a positive spin on it again, which apparently once it was. But that moves us on to Crystal Palace, who host Arsenal. Yep,
the Monday night game. As we mentioned earlier, is going to be a bit of a tough one, I think. Patrick Vieira what a job he's doing at Crystal Palace this year. It was, I think, from speaking to a Crystal Palace fan who I work with, old Stuart, he was a bit kind of apprehensive about Patrick Vieira being appointed the manager, and to be honest, I think quite a few people were as well. It was a bit of a strange appointment, but what an appointment he's been so far this season. Crystal Palace are becoming very difficult to beat. We are playing away, and I'll give us our dues. We have done very well away this season, first time in God knows how many seasons. And at the start of the season, I think Crystal Palace were winning right up until I think it was like the 87th or 90th minute. And I think Lacazette scored the equaliser in the dying moments of the game. And Crystal Palace were robbed a little bit. So I think it could be more of the same. I'm going to go for 2-2 on this one.
Ooh, very similar thinking to me. I've gone for the fact that Vieira will upset the apple cart. And originally I went 2-1 to Palace. And then I thought, I think you're too good for that in a minute. Is Ramsdale likely to be playing?
In all honesty, I don't know. I know he's out with a hip flexor injury, I think it is at the moment. So I know that's going to be a few weeks, but obviously depending on the amount of rest and stuff he's had and rehabilitation.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to stick with a 2-1 to Palace, With Leno in goal, I think they will do you. If Ramsdale was in goal, I think that would definitely have been at least a draw. But I think Vieira, as much as an Arsenal legend he is, and I'm sure you'll mention him in a minute, he also will want to win, regardless of his affiliations and previous accolades. He wants to win everything. That's what made him such a good player. So yeah, I'm gonna go 2-1 to Palace.
Okay, so just to recap, I don't know actually if you want to do that. Do you want to predict the England game tomorrow?
I'll probably think 1-1. No, 4-2.
Okay, so England versus Ivory Coast, you've got 4-2. I've gone for 1-1. West Ham versus Everton, 3-0 to West Ham. I've gone 2-1 West Ham.
Yep.
And then Crystal Palace versus Arsenal, 2-1 for you for Crystal Palace, and I've gone for 2-2.
Yes. And speaking of Arsenal, now this is, I can't remember if something I touched on. I was going to. I know I certainly sent you a message about it. Mesut Ozil, former Arsenal player. We did discuss him a little bit a couple of weeks ago. In his prime, phenomenal. He fell out of favour with the hierarchy, seemingly, at Arsenal, and he's now done the same at Fibonacci. Interesting thing that has come out. Nacho Monreal has done a bit of a piece on him, saying in his last couple of years at Arsenal, Mesut Ozil fell out with everybody. It wasn't just the upper management, it was players, it was day staff, it was chefs. He'd fallen out with everybody. Now, seemingly, he's done the same at Fibonacci, wanting to be the main player, even though he's not putting in performances. Do you think that maybe, in hindsight, they should have tried to get rid of him sooner?
Yes.
Fair enough.
Hang on, Arsenal or
Arsenal,
yeah. No, to be honest, I know the conversations were had in several transfer windows where we were looking to offload him on loan. He wasn't interested in that. If he was going, he wanted to be a permanent move. Then there was discussions about paying off his contracts and stuff. I think the club weren't happy paying his contract off because he was on ludicrous wages. Obviously thanks to the Alexis Sanchez incident at that particular point as well. And let's be honest, in his prime, he was one of the best midfielders around. Now, it is a shame as to what's happened to him. But I think if only there was that level of clarity beforehand.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Because there could have been all these Mesut Ozil fanboys. I'll admit, I was one, and there were times I think we were crying out for his creativity. But I think if there was some transparency about the situation, I think a lot more people would have got behind him being out of the club.
Yes.
Obviously, Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I think that's where when you have a manager like Jose Mourinho who will throw a player in front of the bus, and he probably would have come out and said his attitude stinks towards everybody. That's why he's not in the squad. Where Arsenal were trying to, I think, maintain a little bit of normality and saying no, it's just a temporary thing, and this is going on, and then it come out that he had some opinions about modern slavery that were. They were right, but that's what they went under. That their international connections, wasn't it? Was yes. The reason why they didn't want to play him, because he'd spoken out against China or wherever it was. But yeah, do you think maybe they should have come out and said, actually, he's being a bit of a dick?
Yeah.
And as much as you go, you can't really sell your players out like that. I think a lot more of the Arsenal fans would have understood it, because a lot of them are working class. You have to say that. He's being a dick. That's why we're not playing him, because he's being horrible to everybody. If his talent is undeniable, if his attitude matched his talent, he would be the best player in the world. Unfortunately, as we've seen in many cases, his attitude doesn't match his talent, and therefore he has reasonable success but can't maintain it at the highest level.
Yeah, like I said, I think I kind of get the reasoning behind it, I think have just touched on it very well just then. That if you are looking for a movement out of the club, the last thing you want to do is then start casting dispersions about a person's attitude, because at that rate you're never going to get rid of it. And I think the same could be said for Aubameyang.
Yes.
Now, I would be interested to see, and I think this is going to be something that's really interesting in the next All or Nothing documentary with us at the end of the season. Obviously, that's going to be coming out, and just seeing some of the incidents behind Aubameyang to see what was going on at that particular point. Now, there may be some sort of agreement where the stuff is kind of kept out. yeah, exactly. So that will be interesting. But I think if you're given kind of an insight as to the running of the club, it does it allows you to connect with fans instead of that time where you kind of get a bit of an uprising amongst the fan base for one of your most expensive assets who's been brilliant in previous years or whatever, and then you just drop them without saying anything, or drop for disciplinary reasons, yada yada yada. The usual stuff that we've seen over the course of the last couple of seasons. It does it would make fans appreciate that more. So yeah, I do agree. They should have got rid of him sooner, knowing what we know.
Yeah. That's why they say hindsight's 20/20, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've obviously got some more news that is Arsenal affiliated. So I'll let you crack on with that. Go on.
Yeah. So obviously we've seen some over the last couple of months inductees into the Premier League Hall of Fame. Some very notable mentions in there already. Obviously, Thierry Henry, Alan Shearer. One of the most recent ones, Patrick Vieira. We spoke about him earlier. Just recently been inducted into the Premier League Hall of Fame, and they have currently got another round of nominations going on. Obviously, we're not sponsored or anything like that, but if you head over to the PremierLeague.com, you can cast your vote into the current crop of players. So you've got the players such as Robbie Fowler, Tony Adams, Rick Ferdinand, a list of exceptional players that we've seen over the course of certainly our lifetime. Over the course of the Premier League. So that's been going on for, 30 odd years now or something stupid?
Almost 30 years, 92. So, 30 years next year, or this year. So here's the thing. He's kept good company because he was inducted alongside Wayne Rooney. So, which undeniable. So the next round closes on the 3rd of April. The inductees list that potentially you can vote on is Tony Adams, Sergio Aguero, because he's no longer playing, he's retired, Sol Campbell, Petr Cech, Andy Cole, Ashley Cole, Didier Drogba, Patrice Evra, Les Ferdinand, Rio Ferdinand, Robbie Fowler, Vincent Kompany, Matthew Letizia, Gary Neville, Michael Owen, Peter Schmeichel, Paul Scholes, Teddy Sheringham, John Terry, Yaya Toure, Edwin van der Sar, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Robbie van Persie, Nemanja Vidic and Ian Wright. Much longer list than I anticipated. But there are... The trouble is all of those names, in some respects, deserve to go in there for certain things. But that list is going to get ever longer every year, isn't it? So it's an interesting one. I think they should maybe take one from each position and say every 6 months induct one until they get to a certain thing, or maybe once a year do a goalkeeper, a defender, a midfielder, a striker, depending on if there's the thing. I mean, it's a hard vote because I think you only get one vote per thing.
No, you get
six votes. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's easy. And I think there are some players which deserve to be in there more than others. Ashley Cole shouldn't ever get in there. Undeniably a good player, piece of shit human being. Quite happily say that, but. Like there are some which you look at and you go,
Peter Cech, hands down, has got to be in there.
He's got to be in there. Holds the record for clean sheets and things like that. I mean, I've just submitted my vote. I'll tell you mine. And obviously, some of the players predate when I had really football knowledge that I can go off of. So I've gone with Sergio Aguero, Petr Cech, Drogba, Kompany, John Terry, Yaya Toure. For me, when I think of growing up the Premier League, they're all players who were sort of mainstays for a long, long time. I mean, you look at Robbie Fowler versus Vincent Kompany and the length of time they played in the Premier League. Vincent Kompany has it by almost double, I think. So you think he achieved everything, and that last goal he scored was phenomenal. So, other than Arsenal and outgoings where people go to Crystal Palace and then come back to beat you, we have some transfer rumours which are rumbling on, which actually involve both clubs. So the first one being Dominic Calvert-Lewin. It looks like the injury-stricken striker is going to be off the books at Everton this year. And there are two main teams which are going in for him, West Ham and Arsenal. Would you want him?
Do you know what? It's really difficult to say because if you look at the current, the most recent crop of players, would have people gone out and said, do we want a Tommy Asu? Do we want a Ben White? Do we want an Aaron Ramsdale? Over some of the other stellar signings that we'd made. But you look at what Arteta's done with that, or that crop of players, I think there's no denying how well that they've done under their time with Mikel Arteta. The only thing I think that does concern me is his injury, or the frequency of injuries. Now I know it's unfortunate that some players players get knocked about and stuff within football. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. But when you start seeing muscular injuries and all that, you have to kind of look at the bigger picture, because we've had injury crises for numerous years and you don't really want to be adding to that. But at the same time, if you can keep him fit, he's got pace about him, knows where the back of the net is. It's a balancing act, and it's a very difficult one. I don't know that I would have to sit. I wouldn't be disappointed if we did get him.
Yep. But it's a potential liability if you do sign him.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
And in fairness, that is exactly the same thing that I thought. If he stays fit, quality signing. But actually, when you look at his injury record, is he going to stay fit? Probably not. So in that sense, he's paying big money for him. Doesn't make sense, because you probably find he'd demand a fair contract as well. It fits the bill for West Ham to buy an injury-stricken striker. But... if he stays fit, I'd have him. The other one, the want-away Manchester United striker come left winger, Marcus Rashford, again has been linked with both of our clubs. And for me, if we had the choice to sign in Rashford or Calvert-Lewin, I would probably sway slightly more the way of Rashford. Obviously, still a young man. He's been on the back pages now for a long time because he started so young. But you have to say, in terms of outside views of clubs and other stuff, fantastic for that side of things, for his community work and his general outlook on life. Having a bit of a torrid time at Manchester United, as are most of the squad. But has got quality, has got drive, determination, speed, and actually if he goes to a club where he can be happy, he will find his form again. And what a phenomenal signing that would be. But would you want to take him?
I think out of the two players, because this is something I saw certainly in the last couple of days, I think if it was a choice between Rashford or Calvert-Lewin, Rashford hands down. The only concern I would have would be who's he going to be replacing in the current run of form. I'm not saying it's impossible to knock anyone out, and it would be great to have that level of caliber within the team. But we've seen Martinelli playing out on the left. We've seen Emil Smith-Rowe playing out on the left. I know he likes to play, or his ideal position would be more centrally. But when you've got the likes of Odegaard playing as well as he is, obviously we had Aubameyang previously in that position, as well as playing up top. We've got Nicola Pepe still on the books. It's a difficult one because I'm not saying that we can't make any more signings for the fear of upsetting the apple cart, but it's going to be a tough one. But at the same time, would be good for competition in those places. Absolutely.
I think he'd take Lacazette's spot.
Striker. That's what. That's what
if
I was just about to say.
If Lacazette leaves, Nketiah is okay, but he's not top 4 quality. If you want to get top 4 every year, he's not that. He's a good cup striker and he's a good sort of impact sub. But I think Rashford could fill that main sort of number 10 role for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I was literally just about to say that because obviously Lacazette's coming to the end of his contract. There's talks about giving him a 1-year extension. And I would be happy for that 1-year extension just based on recent form. And I've said it all along, and I do feel really bad for him because he's been in a team with a lot of weight on his shoulders, as well as Aubameyang. Do you know what I mean? Because Aubameyang was the one scoring goals, and whenever you see Lacazette starting to get a good run of form, he's then drops.
Yes.
And I think because of the fact he's been made the captain and we're seeing him in a more consistent run within the team, you can see what qualities and benefits he has. It's not just scoring goals, because let's face it, he was our top scorer last year, I think it was, in all the seasons he's been here. But again, obviously not been able to get a game, but he's doing more than just scoring goals. He's managed to pick up the pieces from a bit of a distraught team from the start of the season, certainly to the point where Aubameyang left. He's taken that captaincy in his stride.
Yep.
And what a change that has been within the dynamic of the team. He's got more assists than he has got goals, I think, for this season. And to be honest, if that's what his job is then to do over the next year, I'd gladly take it. 100%.
I think the only thing that you'll struggle with Lacazette is because he's now over 30. He will be looking for one last big contract to retire, and then maybe go to the MLS or somewhere like that. So I think you're more likely to lose him than be able to keep him. Since Aubameyang's gone, he has really stepped up, and I think he's always had quality there. And as you said, it's just the lack of play time that he's struggled with. I don't think there's any other transfers that have got any weight to them at the moment that I'm aware of. And with that, I mean, I don't actually have anything footballing wise this week, so I don't know if you do.
No.
Well,
I'm all caught up.
In that case, then, what we will do is we will see you after the next England game where we win 4-2, and West Ham win 3-0 against Everton, and Crystal Palace beat Arsenal 2-1, and we'll reconvene next week when I'll be really happy because I know that trophy's almost in my grasp. But yeah, until next week, say I've been Ian.
I've been Mike.
Make sure you go over to the YouTube channel and subscribe, and we will see you next week.
Thanks very much.